Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays. I'm one of your hosts, one of your co-hosts, Dylan, and I'm joined with...
Kelsey.
That's right. Kelsey, I was trying to think of something that rhymes with your name to, say. Kelsey, kind of like Dylan, the villain, is chilling. He's killing. I have a lot. I'm trying
Wow,
to think
you have
of,
a lot.
for you. Well, yeah, I didn't just pull that off the top of my brain. I've had that festering in my mind forever.
Sure, gotcha.
Kelsey... I guess Elsie, but that's like a girl's name, like Elsie.
Like Elsie Fisher.
Yeah, 8th grade. We saw that together. Full circle.
Bo Burnham. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we did see that together.
This is not Marvel news, but I found out that the house he used for Inside is the same house that he filmed Nightmare on Elm Street in. That is the house on Elm Street. It's not actually Elm Street in real life, but that's the house with the bathtub scene and all that.
Wow.
So, crazy. And
That's
it makes
cool.
it even spookier.
Yeah.
Inside's not scary, but it's deep. It's a little freaky
deep
at times.
and intellectual, makes you really think about yourself.
Yeah. Do you like Inside?
Yeah, love it.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Can't stop listening to the soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really well done. It's definitely the least funny to me, I think, of his stuff. But
sure.
I think that's not what he's going for. It's a much darker humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A much blacker comedy, if you will.
Yeah.
Throwing us back to last episode
again,
where we learned that term. But Kelsey, why are we here today? What are we talking about today?
Oh, we are back at it again with another Avengers Movie Club. Our Avenger for this week is Brie Larson.
There she is, right on the bottom there. I always point the wrong direction. There we go.
Yeah,
the cameras always flip. That's why you audio listeners are lucky. You don't need to see me throw fingers in random places. That sounded bad. Anyway, Kelsey, before we get to Brie Larson talking about her movies, as we do, why don't we talk about some news, Kelsey? What news did you have this week? Because there was a lot of Marvel news. I want to know if you have the same as me.
There's some date changes. Is that
that's what I had.
What you brought to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I figured you're going to be much more
now.
organized. Yeah, you're going to be much more organized. So I was like, I think she'll probably talk about this because this is big news. So can you take it away because you're much more organized than I am of keeping track of all the dates. I've asked you when Hawkeye's premieres. How many times today already?
Three times before we started filming. We were working out our next couple of shows, and 3 different times you asked me, when is Hawkeye coming out? Listen, Bill, we can't just keep shoving Hawkeye under the rug. We have to come to terms with the fact that we will be watching an entire series about him. Okay.
Well, I'd like to believe it's about Haley Steinfeld's character, and he's the mentor, kind of how in Iron Man 4, it was branded as a Spider-Man movie, but Iron Man kind of takes the back seat.
I was Iron Man 4. You mean Spider-Man Homecoming?
Homecoming, yeah. But it's not really Iron Man's movie.
Gotcha.
It's more,
So our date changes.
Our date changes. Let us know what changed first and foremost.
All right. So I don't know. I don't have what they changed from because I ran out of notebooks. My last dates are in my previous notebook. This is my new notebook for the podcast.
I believe most of them, at least the early ones, took the place of each other, if that makes sense. The first one that got pushed to the date of the next one, and the next one after that got pushed.
Oh, you think? Okay.
I think well, the first one is Doctor Strange, and that one I think was moved to the original Thor date. So then Thor had to move. I think it's a chain reaction like that, except one movie didn't move, and I will let you know which one that is. But
okay, great.
Unless you don't. Yeah.
So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies with different dates.
Yeah.
So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is now coming out on May 6th, 2022.
Which I think is smart because, it was originally supposed to come out in March, which was the same month as the Batman. And that's been getting a lot of good press. The trailers look awesome. And I think the competition there, it's going to be good to have. Because this could be the next big thing, the Batman. Because whenever you revive a franchise, it has potential to be an MCU type thing. Or it has potential to flop like Fantastic Four. But there's no risk. You shouldn't take the risk. And they're doing reshoots on Doctor Strange, which is another piece of news that I had as my backup, which is a good segue. But yeah, I've heard they're doing some reshoots of Doctor Strange, but the source isn't 100% reliable, so I didn't want to make it official news. But they may be doing reshoots, so that might be
This is the Batman with Robert Pattinson?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good luck.
It looks very good.
So,
What? Do you not like
Nothing.
Robert Pattinson?
I have no interest in like the Batman movies.
Okay, so it's more Batman than Robert Pattinson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
for
your
sure.
scoffing was at Robert Pattinson. I
No,
was
no,
like,
no,
no,
no, no.
the guy can act.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. We won't go off on a Robert Pattinson
Yeah.
tangent
Well, when we
today.
do DC delicious DC Tuesdays, you're gonna have to educate yourself on. I'm kidding.
Absolutely will never be a part of that podcast. Okay. So Thor Love and Thunder is now coming out on July 8th,
Mm,
2022, taking
summer.
Black Panther Wakanda's Forever's date. Um Black Panther Wakanda Forever is now coming out on November 11th,
Wow.
2022.
Thanksgiving area release. That's good.
The Marvels got pushed to February 17th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, is coming out on July 28th, 2023.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, there you go. And the one that didn't change is
Is
Guardians 3.
Guardians?
Is
Yeah.
staying. I believe 2023 in May, I think is when it's slated. I mean, you would know better than I.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
said, my last notebook, I do not have.
Oh right, that's where you have all of them written
That's
down.
where I
But
have.
show off the new one though. It's a nice. I saw
It
you
is a
holding it up
nice
earlier. It's
one.
nice. We've talked about it before, but for new viewers who are watching,
It says amazing in balloons. It has a
Mhm.
little Spider-Man on it, and then the background is just like a bunch of webs. And it's very comic booky. I got it in the back to school section over the summer. They had like a
Nice.
whole Marvel theme with their folders and
Hell yeah,
notebooks and everything. So yeah,
yeah,
I saw it and I said, I need that. That's
yeah.
come.
And
You're coming
she
home with me.
yeah, she got her co-host one too. I just haven't seen Kelsey yet to get it. Right, Kelsey?
Yes. Couldn't have said it better myself, Jill. It's
I'm just messing. I'm just messing.
I have it right here for you. Sorry.
Wow, Star Lord, hello. At least crank it up or something. Like
I know.
don't just.
I don't know where that came from, honestly. That was like really May 5th, 2023. That's when the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out.
It's okay. Wait, I knew a release date over Kelsey. That is a rarity.
All
Everyone,
right.
write it down in your notebook because I
You
don't have a
said
notebook.
May.
I
Okay,
don't have a
you didn't
notebook to
even
write it down and stuff.
see. You don't even have a notebook. You don't even take this seriously like I do.
I have a notebook, but I write trivia stuff in it instead of Marvel stuff because all the Marvel stuff is in here.
Oh, okay.
Except for release dates.
Except for Hawkeye's release date that you will never plant in your brain.
You ready? November 20th. Am I right?
No.
What's the over under? 22nd?
It's November 24th.
24th.
November 24th.
I think we're podcasting about it on the 20th, right? Or no, we would probably podcast about it afterwards. That would make more sense.
We can't podcast about something in the future. I don't have the site. I'm not a psychic yet. I don't have the time stone. Can't do
Except I've watched all of Quantumania from the future. It's pretty good. So I can't wait for that one. For everyone else to see it. Yeah. No, I can see 2 years ahead. Take that, Kevin Feige.
Well,
anyway.
I think we should take a trip to the past still first.
Yeah? All right. Want to go to 2010?
The year 2010.
Yeah. See, I know that one. I know things that have come out. I just don't know the futures.
Oh my God, you're relentless.
Yeah. But before we say the name of this one, let's just tell you all three, just in case you're tuning in and want to know which three movies we're talking about and you couldn't see the thumbnail because you're listening instead of on YouTube, which is fine. We appreciate our listenership. We love our viewership as well. Those three movies, we're talking about 2010's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2013's Short Term 12, and 2015's Room. See, I know dates. I just don't know the future. That's all.
And not many of us do, Dill. And that's the whole mystery of life, isn't it? You never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah, except history class, like dates that don't matter to movies, I don't know those. But I know the ones that are about movies, like Casablanca, 1942. Citizen Kane, 1944. Like, I know those. But
that's just a little taste of how your brain works. Dill.
Actually, I think Citizen Kane might be 41, and now I just seem like a fraud.
Before we get into the movies, though, I did say that I was going to start giving some backstory on our actors here because that's what I did 41. Last week with Till. I'm trying to get us on track here.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake and I needed to apologize for it.
All right. We forgive you so much for screwing up Citizen Kane's release date, whatever it was. So, Brie Larson, let's talk about her. So, she doesn't have much schooling in her background because she started out as a very young actress. She was a child actor. I'm not sure how old she was with her first thing, but from memory, anyway, when she was 6, she started taking classes and performing at the American Conservatory Theater, so that's where she got kind of her acting background. She was the youngest member at the time, and then she went on to do, kind of a sketch, series for the Jay Leno show, The Tonight
Oh,
Show,
cool.
and then she went on to just do, many I think she had, like, a reoccurring role in some sitcom back in the day, and she had, like,
Nice.
little parts throughout growing up, and so this was quite a role for her to get in Scott Pilgrim versus the World
Yeah.
in 2010. Director Edgar Wright, who is coming out with something new this
Oh, yes, he
very
is.
soon. Can't wait
I
for Last
cannot
Night in
wait.
Soho
Yeah, I cannot wait. Oh,
because his style of filming, it's just like this movie just like blows me away like every time, Dill.
right.
I fought so hard for us to watch this movie just because
Yeah.
I love watching it.
Yeah,
And
well,
you
the
know what?
reason I was gonna
I'll,
say the reason we put
yeah,
it on the slate, the reason I didn't want it originally was because we were looking for movies where she's more of the lead. But I do
sure.
think it's interesting to see her, all these actors at the earliest parts in their careers. Like Chris Evans, we watched Not Another Teen Movie. Is that one of his best movies ever made? No.
Mhm.
And Scarlett Johansson in Lost in Translation, and Chadwick in 42. Like we want to see the earliest peaks of their careers. We weren't going to go super early with like 13 going on 30 where she doesn't speak at all, but
Right.
Scott Pilgrim's a good like introduction to her as like a legitimate like you remember her, seeing her. She has an impactful role, and like she shows some acting chops, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen it, let me give you my quick little synopsis. And if you haven't seen it, honestly, jail time.
What are you
Everyone
doing?
should see this
What are
movie.
you doing?
Okay, so Scott Pilgrim must defeat 7 evil exes, video game style, in order to be with the girl of his dreams.
Hell yeah. Also, she was in Hoot, which was
Yes.
earlier, but I do not really need to watch a movie that I read the book of 4 times in second grade. Probably the last book I read, honestly.
Oh
Um,
God. You reading Who in second grade?
I don't even know what year it was, but I remember it was always on the shelf, and I was like, it's got an owl on the cover. The owls are cool. Now I don't even like owls, so
So there you go. Who
yeah.
was just a big waste of time then for everyone. So that's why we didn't watch it.
But yeah, Kels, you love this movie, right?
I love this movie.
I
I
do
just
too.
think it's so cool. It's just so unique, so different, so original. Like
Mm-hmm.
the star-studded cast. I mean, at the time it wasn't exactly quote unquote star-studded, but all of these actors like went on to do such amazing things. Like obviously it was casted by Allison Jones, the cat. She cast The Office.
Oh,
Big in the
cool.
yeah, big in the comedy scene. She was
Yeah,
big with, picking out comedic talent, and that
yeah,
clearly shows because she's got Anna Kendrick involved, Aubrey Plaza,
yeah.
just like so many great
Yeah,
hits.
remember when I said
Kieran
I could see the
Culkin.
future? Yeah, I was gonna say when I could see the future. Like she also cast you in like a few years, so just wait, it's
Oh,
coming.
wow,
But
can't
yeah,
wait for that.
Kieran Culkin's amazing too because like his brother gets like the whole like
Yeah.
spotlight because he's home alone, and no, this is the actor of the family. This is Kieran Culkin. He's here to play, and he is. I think he's probably the part I laugh at the most. Like I
Yeah.
think his role just has some of the funniest bits. It's hilarious, and I
Mhm.
think like you were talking about with Edgar Wright's style too, like adapting a comic book because this was a graphic novel.
Mhm.
Nowadays, I feel like a lot of things, the Batman movies, like you mentioned earlier, and even like the stuff like the MCU is somewhat based in reality,
Mhm.
and it tries too hard to make it seem like it's like it is real. It's in our world. This one,
Mhm.
it's like this is a comic book, and like yes, it is still rooted in reality of that reality, but it's like very much in your face. Like this is a comic book put to life. It's kind of like Spider-Verse in that sense, where it's like this is a comic book on the screen. Here are the
Yeah.
cuts. Here are the flashes. Here's the wham, bam, pows, all that. And I really appreciate that with this movie.
Mhm.
It just has such a life and breath to it and a energy to it that I adore. Yeah.
'Cause, like, I'm so fine with, like, a movie totally taking me out of my world. Like, not
Hmm.
everything has to be planted in realism, you know? Like,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, you're just along for the ride, you're along for the journey of this movie, and you're buying it. You're buying every second of it because it's so entertaining, and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Um, so what are your thoughts on Brie herself in the role? Because she plays more of like I guess more of a villain, but the thing with Brie Larson is I find it impossible to hate her. I really enjoy her in everything she does. Like,
Cool.
and usually it's not like this badass energy. Usually it's more like a empathetic, like, what, which we'll get to in the next two movies, like a deeper character.
Mhm.
But this one's just like so much fun to watch because she's just got such an energy and a sass to her that I really
Yeah,
like.
for
What are
sure.
your thoughts on her?
Yeah, this one is definitely the most fun to watch. I
Hmm.
just like in general, but like her character specifically, like it's fun watching her be like a real like character. Like she's
Hmm.
putting on a voice, she's making like a pouty face most of the time she's on camera. Like everything about it is very stylized, and I think that really separates like Brie from the character. Where like with the other two characters, especially like short term 12, I feel like it's harder to be like, "I'm not watching Brie Larson right now." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I
Because 'Cause
know,
they're just
100%.
so, like, grounded in realism and, like,
Hmm. That you feel like it
tragedy.
could be Brie just speaking to you and speaking to your heart, whereas here it's like, no, this is Envy Adams.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
Envy Adams,
yeah,
and
and she
she's
sings.
cool,
She sings
and
in
she
it too,
sings.
and she's
E
good.
when I was searching her Wikipedia to find out how she got into acting, she actually released an EP, I think in, like, 2008 or something, but she
Of
actually
this.
released her an EP, and I was
Oh,
just like, no, it has nothing to do with Scott Pilgrim, but I was just like, "You know what? That makes sense because she totally does sing in Scott Pilgrim versus the
yeah.
World."
It's a shame we haven't seen more of her singing. Like Captain Marvel should have a song in her next movie. That'd be cool.
I
MCU musical.
thought you could see the future, Dill.
Yeah. No, it
An
happens.
MCU
That's
episode.
actually very exciting.
Oh my
Actually, yeah.
god, a what if episode, but it's like the musical episode.
Yeah, like
Like,
what if Spider-Man Far From Home were a musical? Like it'd be cool. You know what I mean?
I
Marvel.
think
It
but
happens.
there already was a Spider-Man musical, so I feel like we should pick a different.
Right. Oh, okay. I was just trying to give attention to your boy after I dissed him earlier, but okay.
Oh,
Maybe
listen.
like Incredible Hulk the musical, like Incredible Hulking Tenor or something like that. You know.
Incredible hulking tenor. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe.
Or Black Alto, like Black Widow, but Black Alto. I don't know
Maybe,
about that one.
maybe not. Maybe we should
Oh god,
just
I'm exhausted. If you didn't know, because I
move on.
I crammed all these movies in early in the morning, thinking we were recording earlier, but it's okay. Um, and no, it's totally fine. But
Sorry,
now
Dill.
I've gotten to ruminate with these movies since ruminate, room
Ha.
innate. But before we get to those movies, but yeah, Scott Pilgrim. Um, it's just so much fun. Like, what are your favorite moments? Like, we should definitely talk about some of those because like this is such a quotable movie. This is such like a memorable movie. So many sequences, so many shots. Um,
Yeah.
I have one that I love, and it's
Okay,
when
you go,
it's
Dill.
the swan dive out the window because
Wow.
it's
I
because
just
it's
hit
just
my
like
hand on my closet door because that's literally the exact one I thought of
yeah, because
immediately.
it's just the one moment that just like like surprises you, but at the same time like it totally makes sense with the context of the movie, but just the way it just like
Yeah.
and the way the camera just kind of subtly jerks to the left. I love that moment, and I just think it's
Yeah,
hilarious. But
that's a really, really great
sorry to
moment.
steal your moment though.
No, it's so fun. I just love how she's like, "Is Scott home?" And then he goes through the window, and then Kieran Culkin, without missing a beat, goes, "He just left."
Yeah, it's the
And then
delivery.
you can see him running behind Knives in the background, and her eyes are like, it's just like, just every shot is like
Yeah.
so like timed out perfectly. Like I watched the bloopers of this movie like a really long time
Oh,
ago,
really?
like all the
Nice.
outtakes because I just wanted to
Mhm.
see. And I just loved like there's like the moment where she delivers the package to him and she's
Mhm.
like, "Do you want to hang out?" Like, I was thinking about asking you out, but I totally thought that was weird. So, do you want to hang out sometime? Like, it's just like one continuous thing. And she's like, "If you sign this package, like, yes, I'll hang out with you." And then he signs it, boom, throws it over his back, makes it perfectly in the trash can. And I was like,
Mhm.
and it's just such a quick moment, but like they had to keep doing that over and over and over again. I think it was like it had to be like in the 20s or 30s when they finally
Yeah.
got it like perfectly
Wow.
in the trash can. And I was
Damn.
like, that's just the kind of like precision like a
Yeah.
movie like this takes to be made.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like I said, like there's so much going on spectacle wise, but a lot of the practicality of it is really good. Like it's fun to look behind the scenes. I haven't seen a ton of it, but like the stunts, especially in Chris Evans' scene, with the skateboard,
Hmm.
just like all those things, the action and that is very seamless. Like obviously
Yeah.
he's not getting tossed around and they're not really falling to their deaths at times, but it like it's really good at towing the line between special effects and practical effects. Speaking of, yeah, we have Chris Evans. I believe, is that the only holdover Marvel wise,
Yeah,
MCU wise?
I think so.
Yeah, because like Marvel wise, you have Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in DC, and then you have Brandon Routh is in DC. He plays Superman. But yeah, MCU, I think it's just Chris Evans. But yeah, really, really good in this too. It's a younger Chris Evans. Is it pre Captain America? Yeah, it would be a year before. So this was kind of the douchey typecast that we saw in Not Another Teen Movie that we continue to see here.
Yeah. Yeah, another moment I love is the garlic bread scene. I feel like that's just like iconic. She's like, "Yeah, you get fat. Why would I get fat? Bread makes you fat. Bread makes you fat." Like that, just realization.
Yeah.
I can just hear it in my head happening.
Right. It's one of those movies where you just like hear a moment and it takes you to that scene. Like it's very photographic memory. Like you remember scenes and lines, and it's endlessly quotable. It's endlessly rewatchable. It's endlessly fun. Like I've watched this probably once a year since I saw it the first time, probably 3 years ago. Like I just really, really enjoy it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Have you ever seen any of his other movies, Edgar Wright?
No.
Okay. So like that should be your next mission, because he has some good stuff out there, because his movies all have that similar like energy to it, like the crisp editing, everything's very tight, very precise, nothing feels chuffa, to quote a friend of ours. But yeah,
that means unnecessary.
Yeah,
for
chuffa,
those of you who don't know that.
Yeah, well, you never know who the audience is.
Okay, but
I guess
okay. I think the majority of the audience would not know what chuffa means. That's like an inside joke.
Well, that's why I wanted to just keep it inside, confuse them all, because I can see the future, and they.
Sorry, I'm trying to be inclusive, Dill.
No, I know. Yeah, you should be inclusive. But yeah, along those lines, what was it? Yeah, so he did Shaun of the Dead, which is like a really like famous zombie comedy horror type thing, perfect for this time of year. He did Hot Fuzz, which is a really fun buddy cop movie, and then he did The World's End, which is about this really crazy bar crawl that becomes supernatural alien invasion. It's really wild. And then Baby Driver, which is a really, really fun action movie, starring some people that have not aged too well, but the things that happen to those people, the things that happen to those people are satisfying in context, knowing who they are.
Yeah.
I will not say anymore. And then, of course, 2 movies this year. He made a documentary called The Sparks Brothers about the band Sparks, and he has Last Night in Soho coming out. So, like, Edgar Wright is working, and I don't think he's made a bad movie to date, and I think that's really impressive.
Good for Edgar Wright.
Yeah. So, any last words on Scott Pilgrim, or shall we?
I gave Scott Pilgrim
a
7 out of 10. If you were
7?
Only because for Brie, if you were to see Brie as Captain Marvel and you were like, "Hey, what other movies has Brie been in?" I would be like, "Hey, check out Scott Pilgrim versus the World." It's a smaller part than Carol Danvers, but it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say this is the go-to, like you should watch Brie in this. It's more like you should watch this movie. Oh, by the way, Brie and Chris Evans are in it.
Yeah,
you should check that out.
Sure.
You know, I think for that reason I'd give it like a 6 or 7. But in terms of the movie itself, it's like a 9 out of 10 for me. Like I just think because it's so good. It doesn't reach that 10 out of 10 only because like the next 2 we're gonna talk about, I think hit me more emotionally. But like this is just a blast. And sometimes it doesn't have to hit you emotionally. And this one actually does have some moments, but like it's mostly just for laughs and fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I really adore that. So I would give this a 9 out of 10. I'm just sticking to my guns. I love it. So the next movie, we can't give it 12 out of 10, but we can talk about Short Term 12. Bad segue, but there it is. Kelsey, tell us about 2013's Short Term 12. That's very tricky. I had to practice that all day because 2012 is not the year it came out. It came out in 2013, but it's Short Term 12. So, like, trippy.
I'm glad you practiced that all day because you nailed it.
I didn't.
So Short Term 12 was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Cretton? Sorry. I'm sorry.
Kraken,
Destin Daniel.
Creature. Yeah. Destin Daniel
Creed Bratton. Directed by Creed Bratton.
Who also directed, not Creed Bratton, but Destin Daniel Cretton directed Shang-Chi, which is really cool. And I texted you that. I texted you that, Kelsey.
Wait, I know you did, but I forgot.
Oh, okay. So yes, I'll just say it one more time. Destin Daniel Cretton directed Shang-Chi, which is very exciting. So
Oh my god, that is
again,
exciting.
we're seeing crossover there, and I believe that might be the only crossover MCU wise with this cast, right?
Wow.
Probably.
Good for
Um,
you.
yeah, but anyway, Kels, tell us about this movie.
Okay, so a young woman named Grace battles her own struggles while running a home for troubled youth.
Yep, that's right. Or as Rami Malek's character says, underprivileged youth, which sets off Lakeith Stanfield a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of crossover from actors that are very popular though. And what's interesting about this movie is that these actors, like I think in 2013, Brie Larson's still kind of an unknown because she didn't win her Oscar yet. 21 Jump Street, she wasn't the star of it. Scott Pilgrim, she's not the star of it. This
Mhm.
was like the first like lead role that really put her on the map. And then you have Rami Malek, not really a known name yet. He was in the Night at the Museum movies. He was, he was in Mr. Robot, but like in terms of film, he hadn't had his Oscar yet. Lakeith
Mhm.
Stanfield, he was going by Keith Stanfield at the time, before he added the Luck Keith, and before he would go on to be in like Knives Out and be in Get Out and Sorry to Bother You, and then Oscar nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah. So this movie
Mhm.
is really kind of like the minor leagues, not in the sense of the actual quality of the movie, but like the minor leagues before these actors made the big leagues and made their big break in Hollywood, which is why I wanted to include it because it's so interesting to see them at their earliest
Yeah.
moments. Caitlin Dever too, very young Caitlin Dever, who then go on to be in Booksmart and Dear Evan Hansen, and like her career is still growing, and maybe she'll be the next Oscar winner or nominee of this bunch.
Maybe.
Hopefully, I'd love it. Not for that movie, but like for a future thing she does.
Did
But
you
yeah,
see
what
Dear Evan Hansen?
I did,
What'd you
and I
think?
didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't do a review on this channel because I saw it much later than when it came out, so I figured it wouldn't get reviews. But people have been asking me, and I liked it. I thought it was good. I think if you have problems with the musical itself, the musical handles a lot of the topics much better, and
Okay.
makes them less. Uh, there are more repercussion. What am I looking for? The word
Repercussions?
repercussions for his actions. There's consequences for his actions in the musical more so than the film. The film kind of like lets him get off easy with some of his actions, but
Okay.
I think the core of the message is there. I think the performances are very strong. Ben Platt, I think, is very good. It's just because of his age, it does kind of make it a little weird at times. But again, look at Grease. Grease, same thing. A lot of actors look much older, but I think
Yep.
because this movie deals so much with youth, that the casting of an older actor doesn't really work as well. But I don't want to go off too much on a tangent on Dear Evan Hansen, but I did enjoy it. I enjoy the
Okay.
musical a lot too. So like, did you like it? Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Have you seen the musical?
Yes, I saw the
Okay.
musical with
And did you
Ben
like that?
Platt.
Did you like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
like the
Me too.
musical.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think it's one
like,
of those things. Yeah,
I feel
where
like
if you
it's
like the
hard not
musical,
to walk away being like, "Wow." Like,
yeah, especially the performance.
yeah.
So, and I think it does read better on stage and screen, but I did like it. So everyone asking me, you can hear it here. You don't have to slander me on the internet. Actually, you might slander me for liking it, but you can't stop me. I liked it. Anyway, back to short term 12. Kels, I was talking a little bit about the actors, but we haven't really talked about the actual movie itself. What did you think of it?
Um, it's very, it's very like art housey. It's very like
Mm-hmm.
indie,
Indie.
like that kind of vibe. And I don't really watch a lot of those movies unless you
Mm-hmm.
count like a all the movies that A24 comes out with.
Yeah, which
Um,
is the next one we'll talk about, and like eighth grade, which we've already mentioned, stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of these. Not that I have anything against them. It's just that I feel like they don't get enough attention that
No, they
that
don't.
they deserve. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just not as big. But that being said, I liked a lot of aspects of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I don't want to be mean.
No, it's
And I
fine. No, it's
but
fine.
I just didn't walk away from this movie, like, being like, "Wow," like, Brie Larson. I just
Okay.
thought
Interesting.
that there were other aspects of the cast, especially John Gallagher Jr., who plays her
Mm,
boyfriend.
yeah, he was
Um,
great.
he's, like, great in this. Like, I walked away
Mm-hmm.
being like, "Wow," like, that guy, like, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Rami Malek, I was like, "He's hilarious in this. What the hell?" Like, I feel like I've never
Yeah.
seen him really do a comedy before,
Mm-hmm.
but he was, like, really funny in this, and
Yeah.
I was into it.
Well, you mentioned comedy because I think that's just so interesting how like many different genres I think come into play with this movie because there are very funny bits and there's almost like a
Mhm.
dark humor about a lot of it, but it does
Mhm.
get very deep at times too. But I don't think it wallows in either side. I don't think it tries to be overly funny or overly dramatic. I just think the actions just happen naturally. And that's what I really appreciate about it is how grounded and human it feels. It almost feels a little too subtle at times, like you said, because it is more scaled down. But I really appreciated that about it. Like I really liked how wholesome it felt. Like it does
Mhm.
feel there are many dark things that happen, and a lot of these characters are going through dark things, and especially Brie Larson, and that's why I think she gets less of the showy performance because she does bottle her whole character bottles stuff up a lot,
Yeah.
and almost projects that onto her, the people she watches. She tries to become this motherly figure to prevent people from growing up in the environment that she grew up in, but also still not confronting her demons at the same time. Um, but I like that about it. I like how scaled back it feels, and I
Yeah.
like how it does feel wholesome at the end of the day. It's dark at times, but it does feel very positive. Like the end where when this kid busts out of the foster home, in the beginning it feels like a run of fear and terror, like I got to get out, and at the
Mhm.
end it almost feels like a run of like release and
Mhm.
catharsis, almost like he's running but at the same time like he kind of turns around and kind of plays a little game. He's wearing the cape made of the American flag. Like I feel like there's
Yeah.
almost like an optimism about the ending that I really like, that kind of brings it full circle now that Brie has her character Grace has embraced these kind of um revelations in her life that she's hasn't been able to confront yet. She's gotten on board with her relationship with the John Gallagher Jr.'s character. I just think it really does a good job of bringing things full circle in a different light than the way it starts, and kind of having that parallel structure of him telling the story both times, and the story at first just being like this really, really funny story, but with that tragic end where you find out this kid that he's talking about ends up killing himself and is found in a bush. And then at the end, kind of how it ends more positively about a kid who came in depressed or having a tough life and then leaving better and having a
Yeah.
good outlook on life. Like I love that parallelism between the
Yeah.
beginning and end.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I'm talking so much, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. But yeah.
No, yeah. I just love how it feels like one of those movies where you really just it's just like a snap you get a snapshot of like these people's lives. You
Hmm.
just like you get to look inside to what these people got going on. Like all the background information you get is like, it is what it is. There's not a lot of exposition, there's no like prologue and there's
Hmm.
really no like I mean, there is a quote unquote happy ending because she does end up helping the girl at the end of the day and they do take the steps to get her away from her abusive
Hmm.
father. Um, but there is that, they ended the same way they started with the kid running, and it's almost like you said, Dill, the ending feels more like a playful run, because they're kind of like, he
Hmm.
doesn't even keep going towards the exit anymore. He cuts a corner and then he starts running back, and now he's just kind of
Hmm.
more or less playing tag with all of the counselors. So it's like you feel
Yeah.
this like hopefulness at the end. I
Yeah,
really
like
appreciate that.
like the three main kids that you've come to like know really well. The one, like Keith Stanfield's character, you don't see the ending, but you hear that he had a happy ending with that girl that he was hitting on when she
Yeah.
came to the foster home. And then Caitlin Dever's character, she had pictures of penises on the wall, and now she has pictures of all these friends who love her and gave her cards, and she had that really nice moment. And then this other little kid, I forget his name. This ending
Sammy.
feels a little bit more, happy. And Rami Malek's character even has a full arc because he's the one who kind of like his own decision that he like all his decisions throughout the film feel like things that like people told him to do, or like he's doing it for his job. But when he gives the kid the little sheep doll, like that's
Yeah.
kind of his gesture of being like, oh, I can do this on my own. Like I'm making a difference, and I am making a difference. Not we, but I. Like I am doing this, out of my heart, not because I have to, but because I want to. And
Yeah.
it almost feels like each one of these people, like counselors or foster parents, I guess, and the kids, all feel changed in some way, which I really, really enjoy. Probably
Yeah.
the character with the least amount of change is probably John Gallagher Jr., but he's a really good anchor for everything
Mhm.
else, I think, because he
Yeah.
he's also gone through the foster system, and I think that was a nice little twist too when he talks about his foster parents. So yeah,
Mhm.
really, really good movie, I thought.
Yeah, I feel like with all of the characters that have to kinda not be in a state of homeostasis, if you will,
Hmm.
like, he's a
Yeah.
really good, like, um character that's already like well adjusted enough to kind of
Mhm.
guide the other characters
Yeah.
around him.
Yeah.
And it was one aspect of the film that was like just a little bit disappointing for me was I felt like Brie like does all of her best work like at the end, you know,
Mhm.
when she's like really like begging the guy to like help her get the girl like away from her father. She's like, "Oh my god," and the shark and the octopus story, just like that whole scene is just like,
Mhm.
oh, breaks
Yeah, like
your
telling.
heart.
And I like what I liked about this film too is that like the exposition, like you learn about these characters through other little things. You don't have to like
Mhm.
start the film by saying, "All right, this is this person, this person, this person. This is what they're dealing with. They're dealing with." Instead, you kind of figure these things out as the thing goes along. Kind of like what we saw with Shang-Chi. This same director, Cretin, whatever you want to call him, his direction is really good at like planting the seeds and not just giving you the potted plant at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
really, really like that about this movie because also there's so many characters you're juggling here, but I feel like all the main characters, I really felt like I knew them all very, very well by the end and knew their whole stories
Yeah.
without it being too blatantly said. And I like how she has that intuition of like something's not right with this girl, and I know, but she's not able to say because I've been in her shoes either because she's still struggling with opening up herself. I think that's
Right.
really, really, really interesting because it then causes that little bit of dynamic and that friction between her and the guy who's running the whole facility, which I think is very
Mhm.
interesting too. Um, yeah, but I agree. She has her bigger moments later on, and earlier on, she's kind of just there for everyone else's stories. But at the same time, I kind of like that because at first you don't know that something's wrong with her either. You kind
Mhm.
of get glimpses of it with the pregnancy and when she doesn't want to be touched by her boyfriend. But
Mhm.
then it really escalates, and then you realize I think watching this again will work better in that sense because you now know that she is hiding a lot, and so you're not getting a ton of like the acting earlier on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really moved by this movie though. Like sometimes movies just about like foster parents or like adoption. Like the movie, have you ever seen Instant Family with Mark Wahlberg?
No.
Oh, like that movie, I think is the hardest I've ever cried in the theater. I just have some. I
Huh.
don't know why. I think it's. I mean, me and you both have worked with kids. With especially with theater camps and stuff. And in theater, usually kids are a little bit more extroverted, like they're more out of their shell. But you will always have times where kids are more bottled up and harder to crack sometimes. And I think there's
Sure.
just something so powerful about being able to see a change in a kid and their life and feeling like you had a part to play in it. And I just really resonated and empathized with that. Like it was just really moving to see that growth. And I cried so much during this movie.
Aw, Jill.
It was honestly quite surprising. I was like, wow, because I watched this at like 8:39 a.m. today, and I was like, I'm sitting here in my bed at 9 o'clock with my TV. I'm crying, like
Oh my
fully,
god.
not just like tearing up, like
Like
crying.
crying, weeping. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I
the
think
moment that got me the most was the birthday when Lakeith Stanfield's character brings the things around and says, "Here, everyone, grab something and make a
oh,
card."
yeah.
And then when she gets the cupcake and the card and she's just like smiling and they're all playing the big booty game, and I'm
Big
like,
booty, yeah.
I was just crying so much because I felt so happy for this girl.
Yeah, yeah.
I just very, very emotional. It made me. I don't know. I just stories like this are like sometimes my favorite. Just like slices of life, but that I can also empathize with.
You
I
have a
love it.
soft spot for
I
family
do.
dramas.
Yeah, and I have a soft spot for Brie Larson, so it kind of works perfectly hand in hand.
Geez,
What
now
were
I
you
feel
saying? What were you saying earlier when I like cut you off?
I don't remember.
I don't know. What were you saying just now though? I
Well,
feel
I it's just
no
a shame because like I feel like I walked away from this movie like just like I don't know. I don't want to say disappointed because I feel like
a
that
little
just
underwhelmed, and
that's
that's
mean.
fine.
Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed with her performance. I just felt like it's a character with like a very similar backstory that we've kind of like seen before. I feel like in
Hmm.
TV shows and movies where someone, a young person is grown up either physically abused or like unfortunately, very unfortunate in her case, like sexually abused by
Yeah.
her father, got her pregnant. Oh my god. I was like, "Ah, this girl.
Hmm.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, this
and
girl."
we'll talk about the next movie too because there are some parallels in that sense. Like,
Yeah.
and
And
I definitely think the next one is a little bit more meatier and juicier for sure. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that this movie was like almost like a really good like introduction to what she does in Room because I think what she
Yeah.
does in Room is so successful goes over so much better than what was happening in this movie. And, it is her first big leading role. So obviously, it wasn't all going to be all there. There's always going to
Hmm.
be room to grow for her. But I just
Room
felt
to
like
grow.
it was, I'm going to kill you.
Oh
It
my
was just,
god.
it was a little bit of like, almost of a generic take on
Hmm.
on this character.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
fine.
how I felt walking
Mhm.
away.
And like you said, the cast is so strong around her too that
Yes.
like in Room, it's really just those two characters, and we'll
Mhm.
get there. But like this one, there's so many other dynamics and relationships, and other characters have their own arcs even without her that are really impactful. So yeah, like she doesn't get to shine as much, I think, but I still think it's a good performance. Like she's such a good actress that like it's hard to find a bad performance of hers. And I know Marvel stands sometimes hate on her Captain Marvel performance, but I think she's really talented, and I think sometimes subtlety goes a long way, and sometimes people don't recognize subtlety, like in the Captain Marvel sense, especially because it's a superhero film, so everyone expects like huzzah, but it's no, not every movie has to be like that. And I
Mhm.
think this and Room are very good examples of kind of Brie in a more subtle way. That I think if people saw these movies before seeing Captain Marvel, I think they'd appreciate Captain Marvel a little bit more too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So what do you give this on your scale?
I feel kind of bad now.
Don't feel bad. This is the thing. It's art. It's subjective. I like that we had differing opinions because then it made for a more interesting conversation. And
Yeah.
it then persuaded me to talk about why I loved it so much. And I really felt cathartic. I felt like this was a good therapy session of me releasing why this spoke to me. So thank you.
I give this movie a 4 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. Um, I'm 6 digits higher than you right now, but that's okay.
You would give it a 10 out of 10?
I think the movie for me was a 10 out of 10. I think maybe her performance, if we're looking at all three of these together, yeah, I'll do two separate ones. So for Scott
Okay.
Pilgrim, for her it was 7. For the movie it was a 9. For me, for here, I think for her it's a 9 and the movie's a 10. So then we'll talk about the next one because I'm just such a Brie Larson stan. I think this is why I was pushing for her Avengers Movie Club because
Okay.
I
I
I
didn't
consider
realize
her
you loved Brie this much,
I
Dill.
consider her a top 5 actress for me personally. Like I think she's in my top 5 all time. And I think this
Huh.
movie too, because this is the only one I hadn't seen of hers, like probably of her whole filmography too. Like I've seen Scott Pilgrim, 21 Jump Street, Spectacular Now, Room, all of her stuff, Glass Castle. But like this is the one I hadn't seen, and when I finally saw this, I was like, yep, no, she's like probably one of my favorite actresses. Just my preference, but and she's easy on the eyes, but that's another story. Like
All
that's
right.
that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
honestly, it's nice because these movies don't like um
Like,
romanticize like
yeah,
her beauty.
sexualize her in any way.
Yeah. The first one a little bit, Scott Pilgrim, but these two not
Yeah,
really,
but
which is nice. Which is
yeah.
I also appreciate about her because she takes roles that don't do that, and I appreciate her from an actress standpoint doing that. But it's okay to defer though, Kels. Like that's what makes the podcast interesting for people listening too. You know what
Yep,
I mean?
yep. Wouldn't be that
Um,
fun if we were just like yes
yeah,
and each
we're
other.
both holding up the same scores, or we're both shitting on something, or both praising something. But
Yeah.
yeah, um,
So
yeah, and
Room.
Room. Let's talk about it.
Room. Oh my
Room.
god. Okay, came out in
Not the room.
2015.
Not the room. The room is much different than Room. If anyone watched The Room, you got a totally different movie. But anyway, talk about Room.
Room came out in 2015, directed by Lenny Abramson.
Mm-hmm. Nice
I
job.
was thank you. Uh here's my synopsis. So, Joy and her son Jack escape their captor and figure out how to live their lives outside of Room.
Outside of Room. Um, talk about a talk about a
I
tear fest.
I'm gonna close this right now because I'm telling you right now, I didn't take any notes while I was watching this movie because you're just forced to sit and watch this movie, and you are like not even in like in a suspenseful like horror film way, like you're just on the edge of your seat the
Yeah, it's
entire
tense.
movie. You're
It's tense.
captivated
It's
the
yeah.
whole time, and I knew I wasn't gonna take a single note because I've watched this movie. I watched this movie when they first put it on Netflix, like right after her big
Mm-hmm,
Oscar win, and I was like, okay, I gotta check out this movie.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know what I was expecting going into it, but what came of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a great film.
Yeah. I'll tell you when they were advertising it because I remember seeing previews, and I'm a big person who's like all into the Oscars. I see, oh, this is coming out. This is supposed to be an Oscar hopeful. This movie was really not on anyone's radars because again, Brie Larson wasn't a huge star yet. She had done 21 Jump Street and Scott Pilgrim, and even then, Scott Pilgrim is considered a cult classic by now. It was not a box office hit. 21 Jump Street was the only movie that was a box office hit for her, so no one knew who she
Mhm.
was. Jacob Tremblay, obviously a new face. He's never acted before until this movie. And then like
Mhm.
some of the older actors like William H. Macy and Joan Allen are like I'd say like B plus tier acting. They're not A-listers. Maybe William H. Macy at a time was an A-lister, but like
Mm.
not anymore. And they're also not the leads. So when they were marketing this movie, a few times you would go to see an indie movie and they'd put this trailer in front of it. And the interesting thing about the marketing is it was all marketed as The Room. Like everything was in the room. So when people saw this for the first time, they didn't realize that The Room was only half the movie, and
Mhm.
that halfway through there's this escape, and the whole next half, which I think is maybe even the more interesting half, is seeing how they adapt to that outside world because everyone just thought it was about these people trying to escape the room. And then
Mhm.
it would end with this triumphant escape. But I love how this movie kind of makes that the climax and then continues the story because I think it's so interesting to see that because if this was like a big blockbuster, like if you had like a Spielberg, I'm not saying Spielberg would do this, but like a more renowned director, actor, or whatever, maybe you make it more of an action thriller where they're trying to escape this room and that's how you end the movie and it's not as effective. But I think because you go that extra mile to understand the trauma and the PTSD of what came with that, and in Jack's sense, the opposite of being uncomfortable with this new whatever's going on in your life. I think
Mhm.
that's so interesting because you have two completely different characters who have shared this really, really crazy, complicated experience together, but they both have such different perceptions of what it's like outside of this room. It was really, really amazing. I remember watching and just being like, wow, so that's what this movie's about. Because I didn't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's because the escape happens exactly halfway through.
Yeah. It, it's just such like I don't think that there's any like kidnapper like I don't think there's ever been this kind of take on this kind of story and this kind
Hmm.
of character. Like I feel like
Right.
you're either spend the whole movie with this girl and then like halfway through she gets kidnapped and then like she's like saved at the end like whatever
Hmm.
it is, or like you're with someone from like the moment they're saved and then like you're just watching them adapt, and I just feel like it's never
Hmm.
been, and especially through the eyes of the son that she had
Who
because
has
of
never seen, yeah,
who has just never seen the outside world. He has
yeah,
no idea that there is like an entire world, and you just watch this
yeah.
like 5-year-old try to comprehend that
Hmm.
there's like outside of room is not outer space, like it's the world, and it's not just TV people, like it's real
Yeah.
people, and it's like all this stuff, and it's just like really like at by the end of the movie when she's, like, giving that big, almost like Katie Couric kind of, like, interview with,
Yeah.
like, the big TV,
Mhm.
personality, and she's, like, asking her, like, "Did you really think that, like, having Jack and, like, not allowing him to, like, be keeping Jack with you that whole time, was that really the best thing, like, for him?" And really, like, I can't think of a better way she could have parented that kid. She kept
Right.
his whole life, like, so relatively normal, like,
Mhm.
for in the grand scheme of things that I was like, "She's doing this fairly well."
Mhm.
She's, like, mastering motherhood and
Yeah.
survival at the
And
same time, and I was like, "This is just
mhm.
insane."
Yeah, and kind of what you were saying, like the more conventional approach, they might have focused the whole movie on the person who was trying to find the girl. But I like how it's
Mhm.
focused on the
Right.
victim and not about like the person trying to hunt them down. And I like how when it happens, the rapist or the horrible villain person creep gets taken away, but it's really not about like the killing him or hunting him down. He's
Yeah,
just
like
like,
the
all right,
revenge plot.
it's more just like, all right, get rid of this fucker. Let's
Mhm.
focus on these two because I love how it's these two stories. It's a movie about their relationship. It's not about the capture. It's not about the imprisonment. It's not about breaking free and experiencing the real world. It's about growing as this mother son parent. I really, really like that.
Mhm.
There's such a great level of empathy, kind of like what I was talking about with Short Term 12. Like Brie just has such a humanity about this role,
Mhm.
it just feels so rooted and grounded and fresh, but also like nothing you've seen before because it is such a different circumstance, and she just kills it,
Yeah.
kills it.
I watched a, like, one of the Hollywood Reporter, like, round tables. I don't know if you've ever
Mm,
watched those
yeah,
on
oh yeah, they're
YouTube.
amazing. Yeah.
So cool to,
Mhm.
like,
Was it
just
like all the Best Actress nominees or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, it was,
So
like,
who was
all the
there? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but it
Let
was
me see,
from, like,
2015?
it was the 2015 year. I'm
Mhm,
sure Meryl Streep was there, like,
probably, yeah,
'cause I
well,
feel like she's nominated every year, deservingly so.
right.
But I just remember hearing Brie just, like, I wish I could remember more of how she talked about how she got in prepared for this role and what she did to get into it, but, I
Was it
remember
like
her s
Kate Winslet and, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Jennifer
yeah.
Lawrence? Yeah.
Yeah, 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 that
Which is
group.
funny because Jennifer Lawrence was nominated for a movie called Joy, where she played a mother named Joy, but it is a completely different Joy than this Joy, which is interesting. And I'm glad this Joy won the Oscars. Not just take away from J Law, but like she already had her Oscar. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad, and we'll get into the Oscar talk in a sec. But continue along your point.
Um, I just remember her saying about this role, like, she was like, "Yeah, I, like, didn't shower for, like, weeks before this, and, like, I didn't wash my face, like, I just let myself, like, get really gross and dirty to play this role." And then she goes on to say that, like, which for her, the ugliest that she feels like her character looks, that Joy looks, is when the TV people kinda have her all done up for the interview, and she has this, like, thick layer of makeup on, that she has, like,
Hmm.
thick, like, lines of eyeliner, and she's just, like, all done up for this interview that is clearly taking way too soon. Like, I feel like they needed to give her at least, like,
Right.
a year before
Yeah.
you could talk about this on national television, but
Mhm. But that's
it
life, and that's what sucks about life too, is, like, how much the press just wants to intervene with everything sometimes, you know?
Yeah. And, like, the moment they're coming home from the hospital and they have, like, all these onlookers, like, around their house, and they're saying, like, nice things, like, they're there because they're so happy that, Joy is finally home, but it's like she's like, "I don't wanna walk out in all this, like, we have to go out in this? Like, what
Mhm.
I don't want all these people staring at me, like, looking at me,
From
this is not
seeing
what I want
one
at
from
all."
seeing 2 other human beings to then seeing all those human beings, it's quite
Mhm.
overwhelming. And sometimes you have to forget, you have to remind yourself that Jack has not seen all this. He he sees a dog for the first time, and you don't process it at first until you realize, oh wait, he's never seen another animal, because there's just no animals in the room, they're all toys or cartoons. Like
Yeah.
he's never seen an animal breathing in front of him, and he's 5. And like when we're young, we see animals, we're like if we're babies, like it doesn't really process, we're just used to it always being a part of our lives. But imagine a
Mhm.
5-year-old for the first time seeing a dog, when you like have the consciousness to process that this is an animal in front of you. Like it's really really interesting. It's like when you go to the zoo and you see like big animals for the first time, you're like, I've only
Yeah.
seen pictures of these. It's
Yeah.
like that, but like it's at your doorstep. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
like I was saying before, it just keeps you on your toes your whole movie, because the
mhm,
first half, you're like, you can't, like, wrap your head around the fact that, like, this is the way they live, and, like, how hard she's tried to normalize this
mhm,
setup for her son, and, like, this is the motions that they go through every day. They wake up, they brush their teeth, they eat breakfast together, then they do, like, workouts together. She makes him run back and forth so that he doesn't, that he has his physical,
yeah,
health up to standards, and
yeah,
she gives him a vitamin every day. They take a bath together, like, these are just the motions they have to go through, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is the way she's been living for the past 7
mhm,
years." To then the big escape, the big breakthrough scene where Jack is in the back of the truck, and you're like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
Jack's like, what's gonna happen to Jack?
mhm,
Is he gonna be able to find Ma?" He's so disoriented, the
mhm.
way that whole thing is shot, like, he sees the dog for the first
Yeah.
time, he sees the other man, he's trying to say, like, "Help me." Oh my god, it's
I
just, like,
also
talking about it gives me
Yeah.
anxiety.
The yeah, it's really interesting because it is almost like its own little mini thriller in just that moment. But then the
Yeah.
next moment, it's like this drama, and then it also has bits of comedy even at times. And it's like just this range of different things. Like I said with Short
Mhm.
Term 12, like both these movies just feel like so humane and real, that like all these different layers on one on top of the other on top of the other, it just feels natural. Like it feels natural that the press would try to intervene. It would feel natural for her to not want to go back for the route to the room, but then him wanting to go back to the room because he doesn't feel the closure, because that is his home, that is his safe
Mhm.
space, that is his comfort. He isn't
Mhm.
able to process exactly what's going on. And I think that last scene is heartbreaking, you know, seeing him say goodbye to Room, but the first thing he asks is, did it shrink? And the thing is, it didn't shrink. It's just that the world outside was just so much bigger and he didn't know it.
Yeah. Yep.
It's heartbreaking. It
And then
really
the
is.
way he says, "Say goodbye to Rue, Ma," and she doesn't verbalize it. She just mouths like, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Yep, that's all it needed. That's all
And
it needed."
you can tell that there's just a really good simpatico relationship with her and the director, and just like how she has these subtle little bits and moments, but that the camera is always able to capture. And I think that's beautiful. It's like on stage sometimes like actors can make their own choices, but sometimes they go unseen. Like you always say, like
Mhm.
there's always someone watching you on stage, even if you're in the back row. There's someone watching you, but here the camera's able to hone in on those small choices that you might not see in like a stage production or something like that, that are just so impactful, like that moment and like so many other moments. I mean, yeah, I mean this movie just crushes me also. Like I cried watching this too. I'd seen this
Yep.
before, so it wasn't like a fresh like, oh my god, cry like Short Term 12, but this was like still a good cry, you know what I mean? When he
Yeah.
says I love you grandma for the first time too, because
Oh
it's tough
my
for her too.
god.
I mean, this woman has lost her husband. You know, her husband and her separated because of this, because they
Yeah.
probably each blamed kind of, because they probably didn't blame each other, but there was probably that underlying, you know, like what would have happened if you had been there, or if you had been there. Like there's always that resentment for one another. Kind of like sometimes you see a lot of divorces end because their kids are special needs or troubled kids, or something happens
Mhm.
to the kids. Like a lot of the
Sure.
kids have an effect on the parental relationships. So when you see this, it's like you have to remember also what this woman has gone through that we don't know very well. And I like how we don't meet her till halfway through, because this kid doesn't meet her till halfway through. You know, there
Mhm.
aren't flashbacks. There aren't flashbacks to before the room happened. Like if it was a Hollywood production, a big blockbuster production, maybe they would throw all these like stupid little flashbacks of how she got abducted in there, but they don't do that. And I really like how you experience it with the kid.
Yeah.
I really like.
100%.
Yeah. And we got to talk about the Oscar too. She was an unknown, like I said, and she comes in there against like Jennifer Lawrence, who had just won her Oscar a few years back, against maybe Meryl Streep. I'll look up the category of who else was nominated alongside her, but it's really awesome to see her come in and just the Academy just be like, "Yep, that's the best performance." Because often the Academy goes for, "Oh, well, they're overdue, they haven't won in a while," or "Oh, we really like them for this other movie, but they didn't get nominated, so we'll award them for this one," or "They didn't win the last time, they got snubbed, so let's give it to them." No, this is just like, this movie is the best. This is the best performance in what I believe to be the best movie of that year. Like this is the one that deserves it. And I like how the Oscars awarded that.
I have the nominees if you
Oh yes, thank you for finding them. What were the
so I was
actresses?
wrong. Meryl wasn't nominated this year. It was
Oh shit.
Brie Larson, Kate Blanchett for Carol, Jennifer
Oh
Lawrence for Joy, Charlotte Rampling for 45 Years,
mhm.
and Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'd say Saoirse's the only other one that probably would have contended with her, but like even then, Kate Blanchett's very good in Carol, but again, she had just won in 2013, so this is 2 years
Mm,
later. The only other one that I would say is like overdue for an Oscar is still Saoirse. She still hasn't won one, but she will. I think she will. I think she'll have just
she
as many
will.
nominations as Meryl Streep by the end of her career. I'm
Her
convinced. I
her
mean,
time's coming.
yeah, her time will come. It will come. But yeah, like this was the best performance of that year, hands down.
Yeah.
Of any movie too, like not just actress, but actor, actress. I don't even remember all the movies that were out that year, but like it's this. Like this is maybe like because of the Star Wars 7 Force Awakens came out the year, like that was probably the most fun I had in the theater, but like this is the best movie that came out in 2015, I think. I just think it's beautiful. I mean, I don't want to show my hand too much, but I'll start with my scale. I'm giving Brie a 10. I'm giving this movie a 10. This is like an all-timer for me. I love this movie. What about you?
So I gave this movie a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Only because this was another situation where I walked away and I was like, obviously, like Brie did a stunning job, but
Hmm.
oh my god, Jacob Tremblay,
He steals the
like
show.
he I'm like I'm thinking about like I don't remember being 5 that well, but like at like I don't even know how old like he was when he did it, but he
Probably not much older, right? Because he's 5 in the movie, but I don't know how old.
yeah,
Right?
but
He's 5.
hold on,
I'll look it up. I'll look.
let's do math real quick.
You talk while I look it up.
I just like you walk away and you're like, "Oh my god, that little kid," because it's like he breaks your heart the whole time
He was
because
9 when it came out, so he was probably only 7 or 8 when it filmed.
okay, so still don't remember being those ages, but knowing damn well I would not be able to have done what he did because like
Yeah.
most of the time when little kids on screen, all they have to do is like be a little kid. But like he had to like really go through some tough moments with Brie, like the whole rug scene where she's like trying to explain to him like this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna feel like this, and when you know you're in the truck, you're gonna wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You're gonna get out, and by the time he's like done, he just screams like he's like I hate you. I like I can't do this. I can't believe you're making me do this. I like this is it's so scary and terrifying, but you're like, Jack, you really are the only hope in this situation, man.
Yeah, because
And it's like,
if he doesn't get out, and even if she, I think this kind of goes back to why I don't want to say she didn't give her kid up for adoption because of this. I don't know if she even had that option, but like I think the reason she keeps him also is because he might be the only chance to get out of this.
mhm,
And it's a sad truth, but it's the truth that he's the only way she can
yeah.
get out of it because she can't do it herself,
I mean,
obviously.
I'm surprised that he like the captor who they call Old Nick. I'm surprised he even let her like keep the baby because I mean, like he's not taking her to a clinic to get an abortion, and then
Right, it would.
after it's born, like he could have easily just taken away. But I feel like almost even like selfishly, she wanted to just like have a baby just to
Hmm.
like not be by herself all the
Right,
time.
because she
Like
needed a companion.
I'd
Yeah.
have a baby just to have something to do. What are you doing all day in a room?
Oh, in a room. I'm glad you added that last part. I was like, you have a job, you have
Oh,
this
no, no,
podcast,
no. I'm not
you have
having
friends.
any babies. I don't think ever. So,
Yeah, in that
but I'm saying
circumstance, yeah,
in the context of being Joy,
yeah,
I would for sure have that
yeah. Hmm.
baby
Yeah. And
just so I can be like, great.
I love the choice to name her Joy too. I just think that's like smart because like her joy has been taken away. Just
Yeah.
like everyone else's joy has been taken away, quite literally. But then she finds her joy through her son and in herself by the end. Um, another gotta get emotional talking about it, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's real good.
It's
10/10 for me.
it's a
But
roller coaster.
yeah. So like the movie itself, you would probably give like a 10.
Yeah,
But
for
only
sure.
a 9 for Brie because
But a
Jacob is
9 for
just so
Bree
good.
just because yeah, he
Yeah.
he really steals the show for me. So.
Yeah, I hope he has a good career when he's older because some child actors flop. I mean, Macaulay Culkin, what is he doing now? Nothing. But Kieran's doing well.
I think
Ki-
Jacobs he's still like doing work though. Like I
right,
feel
that's what
like
I'm saying. Yeah,
Macaulay was kind of like a one-hit wonder with
maybe.
like
Yeah,
Home
the
Alone,
Home
I
Alone.
feel,
Yeah. Mhm.
but he's
But
still doing work, I
yeah,
think.
I mean, Macaulay Culkin married London Tipton, Brenda Song, so there's something.
Something about him,
London
apparently.
Tipton's really great. Yeah.
I guess we gotta ask Brenda.
Ask Brenda how it was and how she had fun on how much fun she had on the New Girl set too. She's a great
Oh
little role
yeah.
in that too.
Yep, yep, yep.
But yeah, such a good movie. I mean, these movies, just Brie as an actress, like I adore her. But like, what are your final thoughts on like Brie as an actress now, having seen a few more of these? Because was Short Term 12 the only first watch for you for these?
Mhm.
All right, me too. But like having watched these again, like what do you think about just Brie as an actress? Like, do you think she deserves the hate for Captain Marvel? Because I don't.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Well, I never did. Even like before we did this, I never
Correct.
thought she deserved any kind of hate. I just think
Hmm.
I just liked how all these roles explored like if I feel like a different asset of her, and I
Yeah.
just think that she has so much more to give, and she's
Hmm.
still relatively new in like the
Yeah.
Hollywood scene. So
Right.
we I feel like we still haven't even seen the best from her yet, and she
Yeah.
already has an Oscar. So
Yeah, I think that's just amazing. Yeah, she has an Oscar, and we still haven't seen the peak of her career yet, which is
and
exciting.
also I just love how she just like has a YouTube channel now. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
if she still posts, but like certainly during quarantine, she was just like, "Yeah, I'm a YouTuber now. I play
we
video
should have her
games."
on.
And I'm like,
We should ask
her
her.
like Oscar is like in. Ow! I hit my closet door again. Her Oscar's just like in like on a bookshelf somewhere in the background, and she's like, "Guys, like playing Fortnite for the first time." I'm like, "You're so cool! Like you must be so cool."
Right. Because I think she doesn't want to get stuck in that mold of like, I'm a Hollywood star. I mean, look at Chris Pratt. Like a lot of people were so excited to see him get like a blockbuster role in like Guardians and Jurassic World, but then
Sure.
some people are like, "Oh, why can't we have the Parks and Rec Chris Pratt back? Because it
Yeah, but
changes
then
your
I
life."
think we also discovered a lot about Chris Pratt's
Right. Okay.
views.
Maybe not the best example to use, but like even Kumail, like who knows now that he's going to be in Eternals? Is he going to go back to that kind of dorky, big, sick comedy again? We don't know. Some
Yeah.
actors are able to go back to the indie stuff after they work. Chadwick Boseman was someone who could do a bunch. Chris Evans has proven, but like, what was Robert Downey Jr.'s follow up to Iron Man? Oh, it was Doolittle. Like, you know what I mean? So like, some actors after the MCU, like their work doesn't always reflect, their star power that they had when they were in the MCU. So
Sure.
I hope Brie continues making just a name for herself elsewhere, and then also being able to be in Captain Marvel. Like, it was cool to also see, spoiler alert, let me just put it right there, the same director for Short Term 12 using her in the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi too, which was really cool. So like, it's just cool to see her
Oh,
still have
right.
an
Yeah,
active
yeah,
role in the
yeah.
MCU while also being able to do other work. And I hope we get another 21 Jump Street movie so she can be in it. Like, like, I just hope she has more chances to do more things because she's amazing.
Yep. I
Yeah.
agree.
So, which of these three was your favorite then, if you had to pick?
I mean, it's definitely Room,
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim, Short Term 12 for me.
Yeah. I can't rank them. I probably could.
I think you can.
I
If I had to
in
guess your
terms.
ranking, I would say Short Term 12, Room, Scott Pilgrim.
No, I'm definitely Room above all three.
Oh, okay.
I think Room, Short Term 12, Scott Pilgrim, only because Scott Pilgrim's something I'm gonna watch if like I want to just like have a good time. But like if I want to like sit down and watch cinema, like I'm gonna watch Room or even Short Term 12, which I think is like just like a night. Like, it depends on the day. If it's a Sunday morning, I'm gonna watch Short Term 12. If it's like middle of the day, I need to just like have an emotional moment in the middle of my day, Room, and then to end the night, I'm doing Scott Pilgrim. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's like my ideal triple feature
Breakfast, lunch, and
schedule.
dinner.
Yeah, maybe Scott Pilgrim, and I'll even do a double feature of 21 Jump Street. Just get more Brie all the time. Brie's also a good cheese, y'all. It's good.
Brie is a very good cheese.
Very good cheese. How do you prepare it? Do you eat it warm, cold? What do you do?
Oven,
Yeah.
some brown sugar,
Oh.
honey,
Oh.
dipping
Okay.
crostinis in it. Ooh.
Okay. I was gonna say I do more of, instead of the dip, I do more of the spread. I take a knife, I spread it on like a crostini, but then I'll do like maybe like a fig jam.
Yeah.
Really good.
Big
Yeah.
jam.
Fig
That should
jam.
slap.
Oh, damn. I need to go. Thanksgiving's coming, and it's one of my favorite. I can't pick a favorite holiday. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas all have my heart. It's like three children, but like I cannot wait for Thanksgiving just to like sit and like eat
Yeah.
because my family's Italian. We do the charcuterie. Like, Brie cheese will be there, and Brie cheese will be ready for me to devour. So I'm excited. Thanksgiving's coming, Kelsey. You excited?
Well, before we get to Thanksgiving, why
Oh,
don't we
right.
tell people what we got going on next week?
Good segue.
Thank
I was
you.
literally about to say, all right, thanks, guys. See you next week, and play the theme song. I forgot we totally didn't.
We
Social
didn't
media
tease.
ourselves.
We didn't
Tease.
talk about our social
So,
media.
so why don't you tease the future episode that we're going to be doing next week? Because next few weeks we have like Eternals coming out, but we also have some scheduling things that like we're gonna just like front load a bunch of stuff for you and like give you episodes when they come, and we have a lot of fun stuff planned. But what do we have planned next week, Kelsey?
So next week we're going to be doing something a little bit different, a little interesting. So we're going to be going through iconic decades throughout Hollywood and recasting the Avengers based off
Yeah.
of what actors were big during that time.
Yeah, and we could do like the core ones. Like, we don't have to go into like the Guardians or anything.
Yeah.
Like, we'll keep it the core 6 plus maybe Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man. You want to do that?
Sure, yeah. That
Cool.
sounds great.
And then maybe Nick Fury. So we'll do like 10. We'll have a whole like a 10-person crew. We'll do like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even thousands, like pre 2008, just to see like what would Marvel look like in different decades with different actors. And I think we could have a lot of fun with it too. And maybe even we can do it for like 2030, like when like kids like Jacob Tremblay are old enough to be Spider-Man, or even old enough to be Nick Fury. Even I don't even know. Jacob Tremblay, don't play Nick Fury though. I don't want that. But you know what I mean. That'd be pretty fun. Yeah. So we'll just have fun. We're gonna just hang out and talk about different actors and fun stuff. We want to have some fun now that we've done like some movie clubs and done obviously reviews for the shows and movies that are coming out. We want to just have some fun and just do something new and original. And we have other fun, new and original things on the horizon, including the introduction of the Marvel, or the MCU. Well, we'll just say Marvel for now because it might expand. Marvel Trivia League in 2022. It's coming. Kelsey's competing for the first ever inaugural match for the belt against two competitors that I will not name right now because I need to figure them out. But that's coming. It's gonna be fun.
I gotta start studying.
Yeah, where can they find you on the internet, Kelsey?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can follow me on TikTok, Cause13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cause Productions.
Any cool TikToks out there? Either yours or just ones you've seen that are like really, really good.
I follow some MCU Marvel TikTokers. One
Nice.
of them I think is called Straw Hat Goofy. I think his
Yes,
name
Straw
is.
Hat. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I
yeah.
follow another one. His name is like Charlie Boy. And then yeah, that's all I
Cool.
remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, yeah.
But those are cool MCU
Yeah.
TikTok pages if you want to
Same. My
follow.
favorite trend is now the guy who like pours cheese on vegetables and foods and then does this dance. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, okay. I will send one to you, but warning, it may now end up on your For You page forever and ever after
Okay,
that.
that's
But
fine.
I mean, yeah, no, it's fun. It's this guy. I won't even try to do the dance here because I want people to go discover it. Look up, if you just look up Google, the people listening, if you Google man cheese on broccoli dance TikTok, you'll find it. It is so funny. I'll send it to you though, personally, Kelsey. It is so
Okay.
funny. Because it's this dance trend and he's totally off the beat, but he is on the beat at the same time. It's really weird. Anyway.
Interesting.
Find me. You can find me. You don't have to.
Find me.
Find me.
I dare you.
You
Try.
can, you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter, at Dylan Randazzo 417 on TikTok, and the Dill Pickle Movie Network here on YouTube. And if you're listening on audio, thank you so much. Give us a rating, hopefully 5 stars if you love this podcast, if you loved other episodes of this podcast. If you love Brie Larson, give us 5 stars, and then check us out here on YouTube if you want to see our faces on video. Trust me, the face on the left is not as appetizing as the voice sounds, but he's there and he's podcasting, so you might as well go look at it on YouTube. And then there's Kelsey too. So anything else we need to talk about? No. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. As I said, subscribe, like, share to your friends, go watch these movies. They're really, really, really good. This was our best, I think, movie club in general, right?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I think so. Like the other ones, there's always been like a dud. Like the first one, like You Didn't Love Lost in Translation. The second one,
okay.
like Not Another Teen Movie was like, eh. And then
No,
like
yeah,
the last one, like this one, like I
good.
feel like all 3 movies were like pretty freaking good.
I also like all of Chadwick's, I felt.
Yeah, 21 Bridges was like, okay.
To some level. You know,
Yeah.
it's a mindless action.
This is my
thriller.
favorite so far. I liked it. Anyway, I've rambled too much. I need to cut myself off. All right, guys. Bye. See you next time.